Bedfordshire is known for quiet towns and historic houses. Yet behind familiar streets, unsettling stories persist. Here are 8 haunted places where the past refuses to stay silent. Wardown House Museum and Gallery. Set within the quiet greenery of Wardown Park, Wardown House presents an image of calm refinement. Built in the 19th century as a private residence, the house later became a museum and gallery, its rooms filled with art history and carefully curated silence. Yet beneath this orderly surface, one presence is said to move with quiet familiarity. The most persistent figure associated with Wardown House is that of a former housekeeper. Witnesses describe her as a woman wearing a long dark dress, her posture upright and purposeful. In one hand, she is said to carry a heavy bunch of keys, which sometimes announce her arrival before she is seen. Staff members working late have reported the faint sound of keys jingling along corridors, followed by the unmistakable sensation that someone has just passed nearby. On occasion, the figure herself has been glimpsed briefly standing at the end of a hallway or near a doorway before fading without sound or movement. Unlike many reported hauntings, this apparition does not appear distressed or aggressive. Those who claim to have encountered her describe her presence as calm, even routine, as though she were still carrying out her duties. There are no stories of doors slamming or objects being hurled. Instead, the unease comes from repetition. The same figure, the same keys, the same quiet patrol. Some believe the housekeeper's attachment lies not with the building itself, but with the role she once held. Wardown House required constant care during its years as a private residence, and those responsibilities may have shaped a sense of purpose strong enough to linger. Skeptical explanations focus on the building's age and acoustics. Museums are filled with echoing spaces, and old structures can produce sounds that resemble footsteps or metal objects brushing against one another. Memory and expectation, particularly among staff familiar with the stories, may also play a role. Yet what gives the accounts weight is their consistency. The description of the figure has changed little over time, even among those who were unaware of the legend beforehand. The keys in particular are mentioned again and again. Today, Wardown House welcomes visitors during the day, its galleries bright and orderly. But after closing time, when the lights are low and the corridors empty, some believe the housekeeper still walks her rounds, ensuring that nothing is out of place. And as we leave Wardown behind, we turn toward a manor where activity grows far more intense and where one presence is said to make itself impossible to ignore. Flitwick Manor Hotel. Set behind trees and gardens along Church Road, Flitwick Manor Hotel carries the outward elegance of a Victorian country house. By day, it appears peaceful and refined. By night, however, the building has earned a reputation as one of Bedfordshire's most persistently active haunted locations. The figure most often reported here is an elderly Victorian lady, usually dressed in white. Witnesses describe her as slightly hazy, yet solid enough to be mistaken for a living guest. She has been seen walking slowly through corridors, pausing at windows, and entering rooms without sound. On several occasions, she has appeared in upstairs bedrooms, seated on the edge of a bed, quietly weeping. Her presence is sometimes accompanied by the faint scent of roses, lingering briefly before fading. Guests have also noticed cushions, bearing clear impressions as though someone had been sitting there moments earlier, even when the room was known to be empty. Alongside this figure, Flitwick Manor has produced numerous reports of physical disturbance. Footsteps are frequently heard moving through empty hallways. Lights have been known to switch off without explanation. Doors left locked are later found standing open. In one incident, a clock reportedly fell from the wall without warning. while in the kitchen, pan lids were seen flying from cupboards and landing noisily on the floor. More unsettling still are the personal experiences described by staff. Some have spoken of feeling a cool hand placed gently against their forehead during the night. Others report waking with the sensation of a heavy weight pressing down on the bed as though someone was sitting beside them. Interestingly, many claim the activity intensified after a small hidden room was discovered in the loft, believed to have once been used by servants. Shortly after, a cleaner reported seeing a small girl and felt something brush against her skirt. She left her position the following day and did not return. Skeptics point to the hotel's age layout and long history of renovation as possible explanations. Old wiring, shifting structures, and the power of suggestion are all reasonable factors. Yet the volume and variety of reports set Flitwick Manor apart. The experiences are not confined to a single room or moment. They appear woven into the building itself. The hotel continues to operate its rooms carefully prepared each night. But when the corridors fall silent, some believe Flitwick Manor is never truly empty. And from here, our journey continues towards sacred ground, where the dead are said to walk not in sorrow, but in defiance of rest. Priory Church of St. Peter Dunstable. Standing at the heart of Dunstable, the Priory Church of St. Peter is a place shaped by centuries of worship upheaval and quiet endurance. Founded in the 12th century, its stone walls have absorbed generations of prayer. Yet once the church empties and night settles in a very different atmosphere is said to take hold. The figure most closely associated with the priory is Cuthbert, the second prior of the monastery. According to tradition, he is seen walking the choir stalls long after services have ended. Witnesses describe a solitary figure moving with measured steps, his presence defined more by certainty than fear. He does not speak, nor does he acknowledge observers, continuing his silent passage as though bound to an ancient routine. Alongside Cuthbert, another figure has become woven into the church's folklore. Known locally as Sally the Witch, she is said to appear less frequently, but with greater unease. Accounts describe a shadowed female form, glimpsed near the edges of the building, or just beyond the main aisles. Her presence is brief and indistinct, often leaving observers uncertain whether they truly saw her at all. Sound plays a significant role in the experiences reported here. Soft footsteps have been heard crossing the stone floor when no one else is present. Occasionally, the sensation of movement is felt, rather than heard, as though someone has just passed close by, disturbing the stillness of the air. Skeptics suggest that churches naturally produce such effects. Stone structures amplify echoes, and changes in temperature can create subtle movements of sound. The long history of the priory may also encourage the mind to fill quiet spaces with imagined figures. Yet even visitors unfamiliar with the legends often remark on a sense of watchfulness within the church, particularly near the choir stalls. The space feels attentive rather than empty, as though something remains engaged with its purpose. The Priory Church of St. Peter remains active, its role as a place of worship unchanged. Its doors stand open during the day, its history openly shared. But when the lights dim and silence returns, some believe the past resumes its quiet vigil. And as we leave this sacred space behind, our journey leads us toward a house marked by water and shadow, where a veiled figure is said to descend into darkness below. The Old Moat House, Luton, hidden along Moat Lane. The Old Moat House sits quietly within modern Luton, its presence easily overlooked by those passing nearby. Yet beneath its modest exterior lies a history shaped by isolation, secrecy, and stories that refuse to remain buried. The building is believed to stand close to the site of an earlier moat, a reminder that this was once a place set apart. The most frequently reported figure here is a veiled woman, often thought to be a nun. Witnesses describe her as appearing suddenly in upper rooms or at the top of the staircase. Her form partially obscured her movements, slow and deliberate. She does not speak, nor does she react when noticed. Instead, she is said to drift toward the cellar stairs, descending calmly into darkness before vanishing from view. Other experiences add to the building's uneasy reputation. Lights have been reported switching on and off in parts of the house known to be empty at the time. These changes occur without any clear pattern, sometimes repeating several times in one evening, then ceasing entirely for weeks. Footsteps are also commonly mentioned, particularly on the staircase leading down to the cellar. The sound is described as careful rather than hurried, as though someone were making their way down in low light. On several occasions, witnesses have followed the noise only to find the cellar completely empty and undisturbed. The cellar itself is often described as feeling oppressive. Even during daylight hours, visitors remark on a sudden heaviness in the air, accompanied by a noticeable drop in temperature. These sensations tend to intensify after sunset, when the building grows quiet and isolated. Skeptics point to electrical faults, old wiring, and the natural settling of an aging structure as possible explanations. Changes in light and sound can easily occur in older properties, particularly those adapted for modern use. These explanations are practical and cannot be dismissed. Yet, what unsettles many is the consistency of the accounts. The same veiled figure, the same descent toward the cellar, the same quiet withdrawal. Even among those unaware of the stories, the pattern repeats. The Old Moat House continues to stand, its history layered and complex. It is not promoted as a haunted site, nor does it seek attention. But for those who experience something out of place within its walls, the impression lingers long after they leave. And as we move on from this shadowed house, our path leads toward an estate where the presence felt is not seen at all, yet makes itself known through touch, movement, and sudden intrusion. Woburn Abbey. Set within expansive parkland, Woburn Abbey is best known for its grandeur, aristocratic lineage, and carefully preserved interiors. For centuries, it has been home to the Dukes of Bedford, its rooms shaped by privilege, routine, and expectation. Yet beneath this refinement, Woburn Abbey has accumulated one of the most complex collections of ghostly traditions in Bedfordshire. Many of the reported experiences here do not center on a visible apparition, but on an invisible presence that announces itself through movement. Visitors have described doors flying open with force, then slamming shut moments later. Footsteps are often heard crossing a room, followed by the opening and closing of another door at the opposite end, as though someone unseen is moving deliberately through the space. More unsettling are accounts involving touch. Some describe the sensation of wet hands brushing across their face without warning. Others speak of an icy draft striking their cheek, sharply localized and impossible to trace to any natural source. These moments are brief, yet deeply personal, leaving witnesses unsettled long after they pass. Beyond the house itself, the grounds are said to host their own apparition. Near the summer house, the spirit of Lady Mary de Courroy Russell has been reported. She lived at Woburn before pursuing aviation, a rare and daring passion for her time. In 1937, she died when her aircraft crashed in East Anglia. Her figure is described as calm and distant, appearing briefly among the trees before fading quietly away. Other figures are woven into the Abbey's folklore. The 6th Duchess of Woburn, associated with the 16th century, has been seen In one of the reception rooms, her presence dignified and reserved. A brown, indistinct shape has been reported in the butler's pantry, believed by some to be the ghost of a monk. There are also stories of a spectral servant said to have been attacked by burglars, locked away, and later drowned nearby. Skeptics argue that Woburn Abbey's vast size, age, and layered history invite such stories. Old buildings produce sound and sensation easily misunderstood. Expectation, particularly in such a well-known setting, may shape experience. Yet the sheer number and variety of accounts have ensured Woburn's reputation endures. The abbey remains stately and composed, but for some, it is also restless. And as we leave this estate of wealth and loss behind, our journey leads into open land, where a lone figure on horseback is said to ride through memory rather than time. Chicksands Priory, hidden among fields near Chicksands Priory, carries a long and complicated history shaped by religion secrecy and later war. Founded in the 12th century as a religious house, it later became a military site, most notably during the Second World War. This layered past has given rise to one of Bedfordshire's most detailed and enduring hauntings. The most frequently reported apparition is that of a woman described with unusual clarity. Witnesses speak of a spectral lady with a ruddy, freckled face and untidy reddish hair, wearing a long black dress with a white collar. In her hands, she carries a small notebook which she is said to examine intently before fading from view. Her appearance is calm, yet deeply unsettling. Many believe she is Berta Rosata, or Rosetta a nun, whose fate varies depending on the version of the legend. Some say she was discovered in a forbidden relationship with a monk and died shortly afterwards under suspicious circumstances. Other accounts claim she was bricked up alive, forced to watch her lover's execution before the final stone sealed her fate. According to some traditions, she appears on the 17th of each month, searching endlessly for her lover's body. Alternative theories suggest the figure may be linked to the priory's later military use. Reports of the apparition increased toward the end of the Second World War, leading some to believe she was a servicewoman stationed there, or possibly a servant from an earlier era, whose story was lost to time. Chicksands Priory is also associated with multiple other phenomena. The sounds of children have been heard in the kitchen area, once used as a nursery. A canon and another nun have been reported moving silently through corridors. One particularly disturbing account describes a youthful-faced ghost clawing at an Air Force officer as he slept, leaving him convinced the experience was physical rather than imagined. Skeptics point to the priory's isolation age and emotional weight as factors that can shape perception. Yet the sheer number of detailed, consistent accounts across different eras has kept the legends alive. Today, Chicksands Priory remains largely private and guarded, but beneath its quiet exterior, many believe the past continues to surface one page at a time. And from this place of hidden vows and unresolved devotion, our journey moves outward toward open parkland, where a lone rider is said to appear, then vanish into mist. Ampthill Great Park, stretching across rolling land on the edge of Ampthill, Ampthill Great Park appears peaceful and open, its wide paths and ancient trees inviting quiet walks and reflection. Yet beneath this calm landscape lies a story rooted in conflict memory and a figure said to emerge without warning. The apparition most often associated with the park is that of a soldier on horseback. Witnesses describe him appearing near the site where Ampthill Castle once stood, his presence brief but striking. Accounts differ in detail. Some describe the rider as solid and imposing, clad in shining armor and carrying a decorated shield and pennant. Others report a far more indistinct figure, grey and mist, like lacking clear features or substance. Despite these differences, the behavior of the apparition remains consistent. The rider is said to move slowly across the open ground, following a path that leads toward a small brook. There, the figure fades, dissolving into the air as though absorbed by the landscape itself. No sound of hooves accompanies his passage, adding to the sense that the vision is removed from the physical world. One witness recalled encountering the figure, unexpectedly feeling an overwhelming stillness settle over the park as the rider appeared. The moment lasted only seconds, yet left a lasting impression of having observed something out of time rather than out of place. Historical speculation suggests the figure may be connected to the turbulent periods during which the castle stood, when soldiers passed through the area during times of unrest. Others believe the apparition represents a symbolic guardian of the lost stronghold, bound to the land rather than the structure itself. Skeptics argue that open parkland can easily produce visual illusions. Mist, low light, and distance can distort perception, particularly when viewed across wide spaces. Memory and expectation may also play a role, especially in a site rich with history. What makes the story unusual is the apparent absence of recent sightings. Those familiar with the legend note that the rider has not been reported for many years. This disappearance has only deepened the mystery-raising questions about whether the figure has finally found rest or simply waits unseen. Ampthill Great Park remains a place of leisure and natural beauty. But for those who know the story, certain stretches of ground feel charged with memory, as though something once passed through and never entirely left. And as we move on from this open landscape, our journey reaches its final stop. A familiar building where unseen presences seem determined to make themselves known, bringing our exploration of Bedfordshire's haunted places to a close. The White Hart Hotel, Ampthill. Standing along Dunstable Street in the heart of Ampthill, the White Hart Hotel is a traditional coaching inn whose history stretches back centuries. Its exterior suggests familiarity and routine, yet behind its doors lies a series of experiences that have earned it a reputation few staff members ignore. The most well-known focus of activity is Room 13. At the end of the corridor outside this room, a door is deliberately kept open. According to staff, this is not a matter of convenience, but precaution. On one occasion, a guest closed the door only to be struck on the head moments later when it swung shut violently by itself. Since then, the corridor has been left undisturbed, an unspoken agreement between staff and whatever may linger there. Guests staying nearby have reported footsteps in the corridor late at night, moving steadily before stopping abruptly outside occupied rooms. These sounds are often followed by an uneasy stillness, as though someone has paused to listen. A second apparition has been reported in the front bar area. Described as a man wearing a top hat and a dark cape, the figure appears only briefly. He is usually seen standing near the edge of vision, vanishing the moment he is looked at directly. No one has reported hearing him speak or move, yet his presence is distinct enough to leave witnesses unsettled. Objects have also been known to shift after closing time. Glasses left neatly arranged have been found moved or slightly displaced by morning staff. These disturbances are subtle rather than dramatic, but their repetition has made them difficult to dismiss. Skeptics suggest that old inns are prone to such stories. Aging structures, subtle air pressure changes, and long hours can play tricks on perception. These explanations are reasonable, and no single incident has been formally verified. What distinguishes the White Hart Hotel is the practical response of those who work there. Rather than challenge the disturbances, they adapt, quietly adjusting routines and avoiding unnecessary confrontation. The building continues to function As it always has, its reputation shared mostly among those who experience something for themselves. The White Hart remains welcoming and active, its history layered and complex. But when night falls and the corridors grow quiet, some believe the hotel remembers every guest who never truly checked out. And with that final encounter, our journey through Bedfordshire comes to an end. A county where the past lingers not loudly, but persistently, waiting to be noticed. These places are not marked by fear, but by memory. Each story reflects how lives once lived can leave traces behind, long after voices fall silent. Bedfordshire still holds many such echoes. If you know another place with a story worth telling, share it below and continue with Creepy Experience as we uncover what history quietly leaves behind.